Okay, well, I think we will get started. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. We're going to be talking all about personalization and why that's the driver for retention with Gen Z. I'm Megan McDowell, the Senior Innovation Editor at Vogue Business. And a few notes before we begin. There will be a Q&A at the end of the session, so don't forget to submit your questions via the Q&A function throughout the webinar at any time. And the webinar will be available on demand via the Vogue Business website, should you want to rewatch it. So with that, let's get started. As I said, today we're covering personalization and why that is particularly important to Gen Z. We all appreciate and have come to assume in some ways that there is a degree of personalization when we shop online. But this is particularly true for Gen Z, who were born after 1996 and they grew up as digital natives. Studies have even shown that Gen Z are more willing to share personal data if it means a more personalized experience. And they would stop visiting a website if it didn't anticipate their needs. So they also seek out personal expression and participation in online spaces. So that's what we're going to explore today, and the way that retailers can really personalize online shopping moments for the smartphone first generation. So joining me today, we have our lovely panelist, Ashwini Asokan, who is the CEO and co-founder of View AI. View AI offers various AI-driven retail automation tools for brands, including Valentino, Nordstrom, and ThredUp. Welcome, Ashwini.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
And we're also joined by Toto Haba, who is Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications at Benefit Cosmetics. So basically, he oversees all the global marketing, both in stores and online, including the brand's influencer marketing strategy. So welcome, Toto.
Hi, happy to be here, excited.
So first of all, Ashwini, I would love to get started with you. Let's kind of at a high level, can you just describe what we mean by personalization? Because like, what are we referring to when we say that?
You know, at its core, personalization is simply the acknowledgement that no two people are the same. And it's just at its simplest form, I think it's that, right? People come with varied experiences, different demographics, interesting histories, life lived experiences, right? And there's so much history there and user behavior, and all of that comes in a moment when they're sitting there clicking and looking at what they're looking at on a given site or interacting with a particular brand, right? When that history comes in contact or intersects with the intent of that user or that shopper at that moment in time, I think what brands have as an opportunity is to basically create this kind of acknowledgement that they know who's there, you know, the sum total of that history, you know, and I was just telling Toto, right, like, whether it's you're going to a really, really critical meeting and you're walking right through San Francisco and you're going, I am going to kill this meeting, I'm going to kill it, and you pick up, you know, a benefit piece, or is someone who's moving across the globe and you know, trying to start a new career, a new mom. I think there's so much that people kind of bring to the table when they interact with brands, and the ability for brands to know that at the right points of time, whether it's on email, on their site, on their app, whether it's the catalog and the quality of merchandise that you have there, or, you know, the models that you're looking at on a given site. It's a sum total of all of that that basically tells me whether you're selling to me or not as a user, right? And it's kind of a bit of a meta description, but there's no other way to put personalization. Is not like this silver, you know, it's not like this one you know, piece wonder. It's actually systemically thinking about how to appeal to someone.
Yeah, so I mean, in the introduction, I kind of mentioned Gen Z. What do they have to do with personalization? Why is it so important to focus on them?
Yeah, I think, you know, increasingly all of us know that that's the segment that's the most active in some ways. They're digitally first, they're mobile first, they're internet first, they're video first, they're social media first. And it almost like, never has there been a generation so stark or, like that's all about the identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, they're coming and interacting with brands because they believe in something. They understand the value systems that brand stands for. And there are millions of brands across the globe that are trying to compete for their attention. So in some ways, I think the currency surrounding Gen Z is actually attention. And personalization becomes a really interesting kind of a tool or the system if you design it the right way. You're talking about what kind of experiences do you design when attention is short? What kind of experiences do you design when video is what catches someone's attention? What kind of experiences do you design when, someone's going to be spending maybe a few seconds with your brand and you either got them or you don't, or you're telling them a story that they can kind of really relate to, right? And I feel like now more than ever before, the thing with Gen Z is that they have grown digital native, which means that bringing personalization almost as like the number one thing that they encounter and goes, okay, me, and that's why I'm going to kind of interact with you and your brand, right? So it's kind of a really intense relationship, I think, with Gen Z more than any other generation. There's no being on and then being off. You just have to be everywhere with them, no matter where.
So you mentioned, I'd love to know, like, is it brand loyalty that you gain from personalization, or are they actually more likely to make a purchase? Like, what is the key benefit in your mind, or what are some of the reasons for investing in this?
Yeah, as an AI company that's working with brands across the globe, one of the things that we do all the time is, everybody, the minute you say personalization, people think recommendations, right? Which is definitely a huge part of this. It's huge, very, very, very big, just in terms of the kind of revenue that personalization can generate. Like we are talking anywhere between 10 to 20%, just directly, somebody clicking on a recommendation and buying something because it was personalized for them, where N equals 1, we can generate anywhere between 10 to 20% in revenue with just that, right? It can be as simple as that. But then, one of the things, and there are lots of things, there's like basket size, right? Can you get them to buy more, interact with your brand more? There's engagement. Are you engaging them through videos and influencers and kind of tutorials and edutainment content, right? And then there's this, the one thing that I routinely talk to, CEOs and CTOs when they're thinking about personalization is the one thing that people often overlook is the compounding effect of retention, right? It's very often overlooked. And I think this is why if you jump into kind of the literature surrounding subscription businesses, it's very interesting because there's a recurring behavior that you're incentivizing and you're getting people to come back and buy over and over and over again. And personalization is really interesting in that context there because you're spending literally 10x lesser, or rather, 1/10 of the cost to retain someone and to get them to buy more. And you're literally spending 10x more to simply go and acquire a new customer, right? Yeah. Mary Meeker, I remember in her report in 2019 said that with e-commerce, as an industry, they were, officially spending more on acquiring customers than the lifetime value of that customer. And that's a really dangerous place to be in, right? When you're literally bleeding money as a brand. And personalization really changes that because you're talking about getting people to come back over and over again, right? Because they know you and you know them and you know what they're feeling at that moment, and what they mean when they like certain set of colors. So we're talking about everything from search to recommendations, to landing pages, to marketing, to, the choice of models you're seeing, to fixing your catalog. So it's almost like a bit of a systemic design of sorts, for lack of a better way to put it.
Well, that leads us into this slide I just shared here. Tell us about the different ways of personalizing, because I know you mentioned basket size and you said it's not just recommendations. So walk us through the different areas that can be, I guess, customized to specific customers.
Sure. I think people are very familiar with recommendations as an industry. I think we're familiar with this, but I think what we're less familiar with is that a lot of the solutions from the last 20, 25 years essentially treat people as a group or as a segment and not necessarily as an individual. right? And let's just say the two of us are looking at a pink polka dotted dress. Your second click is another pink dress of some kind, and your third click is another pink dress. But my second click is, let's say, a bandana or something, and my third click is a wide-legged pant. The algorithms automatically say Megan is looking for pink dresses, but Ashwini is looking for 70s retro clothing. Right. And that's it. Right. So very interesting ways of looking at just, similar recommendations. How do you help people kind of explore and discover? Can you help design, real time kind of lookbooks? Right. So let's just say I'm picking something out for a date night or something similar to that. And, as I'm going through that journey, if you can actually style that look for me, right? And I don't have to do too much, and it's automatically done. And you're styling it, let's say 10 different ways for me based on what you've understood from me from 3 clicks. How do you kind of show me what that looks like? What can I buy the whole thing, right? In which case the ROI is really around basket size and order value, right? If you look at it from an email perspective, you can personalize the content in the email, the title of the email, what you put in. Are you going to put, the same category as what they bought the last time? Or is it Friday, and maybe Friday nights I've just had it and I've clearly shown a pattern for shopping a certain way come weekend, right? Or it's, so there's very multiple things, the catalog, the merchandise, my feelings, what it is that I'm looking for, all of that can come together on email, on push notifications, in terms of search. Let's just say I keep looking at, I'm one of those people that's constantly using Pantone colors to kind of search because I'm just on top of it. And you'll find actually in my company, there are a lot of girls that are they study design and they're observing how, people in fashion actually interact with colors. And, like tangerine sunset is actually a color, and you can find a lot of people looking that up. But what does that mean, right? Is that actually a color versus me just trying to tell the system that I'm looking for a particular kind of an orange? But you might look at it as just orange. You might just go in there and search orange, but maybe both of us mean the same thing. How does that brand really know, right? So I think when we say personalization, we mean search, we mean recommendations, we mean emails, we mean push notifications, we mean cataloging. Like, it's important to make sure that your catalogs have all the right kind of data. And depending on what that user is looking for, you should know dynamically, actually, they mean this. It might have been tagged orange, but they're actually saying this. They might have been looking for pink, but they really mean fuchsia, right? So it's kind of all of these that form a part of that.
So tell me a little bit, that's really interesting. You mentioned what it sounds like computer vision, because so that's like one of the ways of doing it. But I'd love to hear kind of what a brand has to implement to make this happen. Because I hear you and I'm like, okay, this is great. Of course we would love this, but like, do they have to tag a product, all the different ways to describe orange or fuchsia? Like, what is the lift, I guess, from a brand to implement some of these?
So again, over there, I think there's 2 ways of looking at that. One way is a lot of this today is actually manual, right? There are people either in their warehouses or in the product teams or in the cataloging teams who are sitting in large groups of people who are actually sitting and then typing this stuff, okay? And all this data, they're attaching digital data to like physical inventory, right? And there's, and there's so many different people, so there's inconsistency in naming. Right? One person could call it, like, I can't tell you the number of times where we've gone in and implemented kind of automated tagging or AI-based or vision-based catalog. We fix their catalog where we go in and say, wait, but their skirt, it's an umbrella skirt, but it also often shows up as a, like a top, right? With no shoulders. And it's just like a tube top of sorts, right? But it's actually a skirt. And you can see that on the website, it's been tagged wrong. And in some cases, it's the nature of the tags, right? Like right now, maybe urban jungle is trending in the market because, I don't know, Rihanna maybe wore it to some fashion week at some point, and that's the word that's trending. And all of a sudden, you're going to see a surge in people searching for urban jungle. And are you ready for it? Like, how are you going to go back historically and fix all those tags from like 3 years ago, right? All of that is sitting in your catalog, and it's a huge missed opportunity, right? To be able to not be there when the person on the other side is asking for something and telling you they want something, right? So that's one part of the vision story, which is really around rethinking the way where the relevance of the human job, right, to to the work that needs to get done, right? And to have people just endlessly. So we're giving them tools. We give them tools so that a lot of this is automated, and they're the people that look and say, they bring their expertise as stylists, as people in fashion. They're able to bring that to the table and say, okay, this is okay, or this is not okay, so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost, and this applies in the styling. We put tools in the hands of stylists and merchandisers where people can actually go and curate collections online any given week, right? And all you got to do is go take that Urban Jungle image of Rihanna and upload it into this tool, and it's going into your catalog and pulling up everything that's similar to that. And then the stylists can kind of curate that and say, okay, let's say no, let's say yes, right? There are lots of companies that use this in the context of goodie box and subscription boxes, right? We have the entire history of that user who's going and shopping with you. If you want to send them goodie boxes, you can completely automate that, and you don't need and I think there's this debate coming up of a complete crunch or access to talent. How many thousands of stylists that a brand have access to, or merchandisers does a brand have access to? So at some level, the job of vision and AI is to make the job of these people easier. You do not need 5,000 stylists. It's not even possible to go find, when you're trying to personalize n equal 1 and you have millions of customers, what you need is basically systems that can help them kind of scale their offerings.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, okay, I got it. That's really interesting. And the computer vision part is really interesting as well. Toda, I'd love to bring you in. So Benefit Cosmetics, they have, I know Ashwini mentioned email, text messages, website. How are you interpreting the concept of personalization? What are you using?
Well, personalization for me is very broad, and there's a lot of different things that brands can do. And definitely we have a part of our business that's focused on our retail and our retail partners to kind of make sure the recommendations that you have are tailored to you. But our biggest investment, Megan, has really been in augmented reality, and really, developing tools to allow you to see what the makeup or the different services that we offer looks like actually on your face.
Mm-hmm. So walk me through, and I think we actually have a slide here that shows how it works, but walk me through one of your recent projects. When you talk about personalizing AR, what does that really mean?
Yeah. So one of our major ways we do it is through a tool called Browse Try On. So Benefit is is the #1 prestige brand for brow products throughout the world.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to cement our authority in that space by developing a tool that allows you to not only try our different products on to see what they look like on you, but also try the different brow shapes that you're able to get when you walk into one of our 3,000 brow bars worldwide. So we developed this in 2018. You see it there. And, basically there's that tray on the bottom that you can kind of flip through different looks. You can get a bold look, you can get a feathered look, you can get all sorts of different looks, on there. And it really is meant to allow customers to see exactly, what they want to look like, with our brow products and our brow services. Megan, one of the great examples I like to talk about, when it relates to Gen Z and why this is so important is, this is a generation kind of built on the expectation that they can customize what they want before they get into the store. And I like to use Starbucks as an example, right?
Okay.
You walk into a Starbucks and, I want that tall, skinny latte with 1 pump of caramel, medium hot, and you expect to have it, right? So similar to that, before you walk into one of our service counters, we want to give people the ability to say, I want that, full rounded arch, in shade 6, at this time, when I come in and see it, exactly how it looks like on my face. So that's really what we wanted it to do.
That's so cool. I love that. So it's like you're providing the Starbucks experience for brows for Gen Z. That's funny. So does that mean that if I'm trying this on, and that picture is actually really cool because it looks really realistic. Yeah. If I'm trying this on, I can choose which brows to select, the color, the shape. It's not just you just kind of paste them on my face. Is that how it works?
Yeah, you can definitely choose them, and it's really adjusting itself to what your brow looks like. So it's not going to give you a brow that's impossible for your face shape. And when we first started working on this in 2017, we launched it in 2018. it was, really a new technology to map all those different points on your face at that time to really understand, how to get it in your camera. So when you're moving it around, you can see it. And we built it in a way so that it was really portable to not just our own site experiences, what this slide shows right here. So you can definitely see it on our site, but we have integrated it with our retail partners. So if you go and shop with Ulta, you can see it. If you go to Sephora France, you're using Benefits Browse Try On. If you go or in China on WeChat, you can look at it there as well. So we thought it was really important to really meet the customer where they are within their shopping journey, with this technology.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. So basically, the text, like the slide points out there, it's text like your bone structure, and that's how it customizes. And so now, and I know like a lot of stores are closed right now because of the pandemic, but as I understand it, once stuff reopens again, you can book an appointment and actually kind of tie in the retail experience and say, I tried this on with AR, I really like it. Can you make me look like this in real life?
Yeah, very much like that. Yeah. And, I think this pandemic has really heightened the need for brands to invest in this sort of technology, because when you're unable to come into a store and, you want to see what the, products look like on you before you buy it, if you don't have this, it is becoming table stakes within beauty right now. Ashwini, mentioned some great stats in terms of improved conversion when you have personalization on your site. We're actually seeing it even higher for this AR technology. We're seeing it upwards over 50% conversion when people actually are starting to use this, on our own websites. So it really, you need to give customers that confidence, that, what the product they have, and especially in cosmetics where the shade really matters, right? You might be convinced to buy one product, but to know which, of our 11, 12 shades that we have, you really want to see it on your face to make sure it works.
Yeah. And where are you? I know you mentioned you're kind of investing in other avenues in e-commerce and stuff. Where are you in that journey? Where do you see the most opportunity as far as personalization online? Because I know a lot of your business is done through wholesale partners. So I can imagine that is a pretty complex endeavor.
Yeah, for sure. We're just beginning on a lot of this work, with personalization on our website. But as you mentioned, the vast majority of our business is with wholesale partners. So it's working with the Sephora's worldwide to really understand, how do we tap into their CRM program, to really customize, the offers and the messages we give to customers. Benefit has a service business as well. So we have 3,000 brow bars. So we actually have a lot of personal information on customers, that we can use to remarket and really target them with the right messages. But it always has to be in conjunction through our retail partners, because they, by and large, kind of own that data. So we're doing that, via targeted email programs, with the retailers. We're also doing it on things like pre-launch product sends, Megan, right? So like if we are launching a mascara, we'll work with Douglas in Germany to really understand, a profile of what mascara user is ready to, up level from mass to prestige, and you really do a targeted, send to those people, and they determine that via, their own, algorithms and, data mining from their customer base.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Ashwini, you briefly mentioned it. It's not just e-commerce. It can also be text messages and emails. And I know, Toto, you probably email your customers a lot directly and through your retail partners. Ashwini, tell us a little bit about this idea of real-time recommendations. And I know the slide kind of alluded to it, but does that mean, like, if you send me a text or an email, once I click that link, then the science happens? Like, how, is that possible, or does it have to be kind of static in time?
No, that's exactly it, right? And it kind of goes back to that pink dress example that I was giving you, right? Which is basically it's as you click. And I think, companies typically think about like the last generation of technologies that have been around. I think you had a cold start problem. The question was like, okay, someone's coming to your website. It's the first time they're coming. Like, what are you going to show them? Like, how are you going to hold on to them? What do I have to do to impress them? And I think for us, it's with vision and with that kind of the AI tech that we have, our story has always been, you actually just need 2 clicks really, because what the technology is doing is starting to see, okay, what is this person trying to do? It's not just looking at what you're clicking, it's actually looking at the images, it's looking at the products themselves, and it's kind of decoding, visually, what is this product, right? And in fashion, it's a certain set of things. In beauty, it's a certain other set of things. In, accessories, it's a certain other set of things, right? It's material, it's the shine, is it matte, is it glosses? There's so many kind of different attributes to kind of the products that you're looking at in each category. And I think the thing about real time is that it takes you a couple of clicks. And sometimes if you have a user who's clicking all over the place, obviously that takes a little time to understand what it is that they're trying to do. But most often data shows that people are telling you stories about what they're trying to do. And you can you get a sense fairly quickly. And that is where the real time thing is super important, because this person, let's just say they're putting a bunch, if you are like me, and I love to load up a cart when I'm in the zone, when I'm in the mood, and then I wait for the, and then I wait to come back to press the checkout button to make sure that, it wasn't just like me loading a cart because I was feeling emotional or had a bad day or a good day. And then I come back to it. But what if I don't? Right. And these are like hundreds. I'm buying plants, as you can see, like bad mood, good mood. I buy plants, I buy shoes, I buy lipstick, there's a lot of things for bad mood and good mood categories. And it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself as a brand, I'm going away. Why don't I get real time? Like, why don't you let me know? Right. Why should I come back? What am I missing out? Have you found something similar to what I put in the catalog for like half the price, or a better brand that I really like, or there's something very similar to the shade I brought the other day, right? So, and it's real time, right? The minute I get off a website or an app, there's a trigger. It can be a notification, it can be an email, it can be a push, it can be so many things, right? It can be an offer, right, to get me to come back. And there are so many, or social, right? I should not discount social at all over there, but there's so many ways to get people back. And for us, we've been seeing this whole idea of real time increase in retention, increase in frequency. People are coming 3 times back to the site rather than originally just like dropping off and going away. Like the cart abandonment rates in retail are stunning, like in e-commerce, absolutely stunning, right? On one hand, we know that 75% of all apparel sales in February were online. Like that's a stunning number. And at the same time, that the cart abandonment rates are 70+%, right? As an industry, just in terms of, so there's just so many opportunities, just increasing LTV, right? Getting people to come back and not losing them at the cart. There are just so many ways to just bump up 2x, 3x revenue by just focusing on that idea that you can real time personalize, someone's experience.
That's interesting. Okay, that makes sense. So I guess my behavior might change as the week goes on. So the message you might have prepared for me on Monday might not be appropriate on Friday. That's really interesting.
That's right.
And you mentioned social. So Toto, I want to get to you, and then I want to remind our viewers to, if you have a question, submit it in your Q&A, because we're going to get to the Q&A section soon. But Toto, tell me about some of your social media efforts, because a big trend I'm seeing, and kind of taking it back to Gen Z, is they want to participate in the conversation and they want to be speaking with the brand, not have the brand speak to them. So what are you doing there as far as personalization?
Yeah, I think personalization with Gen Z, and I love the analogy that Ashwina talked about in terms of like customizing what you see, based on your behavior. If you want to know the master of that, it's TikTok, right? I mean, your For You page personalization in terms of content and what you like and what you don't like is the be all and end all, I think of this generation. So, looking at that, and as a brand, how do you tap into, some of that behavior? Definitely, leaning really heavily into the TikTok creator, universe to really work with them to customize content based on their specific niche of audience, is the way that Benefit has kind of approached this, rather than trying to personalize content, to all the different micro segments that we have. We partner with influencers to do these sort of challenges, and we do these, sort of launch campaigns where we'll choose a broad, diverse mix of creators that represent different niche segments and ask them to, talk about our product. And they then do it in their own voice, and to reach their own customer. And we know, based on the way the personalization works for TikTok, that that's only going to appear for, people that are like them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's so interesting because like the challenge is it's essentially like the customer becomes a brand advocate. Like it's like you say, okay, we're doing this marketing idea. Now you create your own ad and then they put their own spin on it. But it's like because it's tied to the brands, they're kind of broadcasting your message for you in a way. And they feel it's like more, I guess, that loyalty thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, people are looking to get recommendations from people that are similar to them, right? So, you can do all the great advertising as you want as a brand, but at the end of the day, if you get a recommendation from someone who you like and that, you think you trust their opinion and is like you, it's going to go so much further. So I think you always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, very cool. I feel like we covered a lot of ground in these quick 30 minutes, and we're going to get to our key takeaways. But before we do, I just want to summarize some of the key points that kind of stood out to me in this conversation. So I think it's very clear Gen Z expects personalization. That has kind of been a key theme of this conversation. It's not just because they like it actually increases loyalty, engagement, and actual sales. So I think that's a really important point. Finally, I think even thinking beyond the website, I know often we think personalization, we think recommendations, which are still very powerful, but you can also do it in apps, email, social media, and text messages in real time, which I think is really interesting. And Toto, just like you said, enable the consumers to participate. So whether it's customizable AR experiences when they're shopping or sharing on social media, or social media challenges that enable self-expression, enabling consumers to participate is going to just kind of be an ongoing trend we see. So with that, we will take it to our Q&A. So I think we have a few questions coming in here. Let's see. So one question we have, which is really interesting, are there any examples of types of retailers in which personalization is especially effective? Like, I know some brands are these huge brands, they have huge catalogs, huge, wide customer base, but then there's also kind of like smaller brands who have a more curated assortment. Ashwini, I think this might be a good one for you. Is there a specific type of brand that is most able to benefit from this?
Yeah, I think, that's actually a really good question. And we have over 100 customers that we work with. We work with multi-brand retailers, like your traditional brick and mortar folks that are trying to come up online. We work with, marketplaces where they're like really massive catalogs, right? We're talking like hundreds of millions of items. And then we work with very, very specific brands that stand for something very distinctly, right? Very niche brands that are supporting, that have a very loud, clear message of a particular kind. And I think the thing about personalization, like I said, is it's not a one size fits all, right? And the thing about AI, and this is something that I love to talk to our customers about routinely, is we've already seen the mobile native movement. We've already seen the cloud native movement. What we believe at View.ai is that the next thing is the AI native movement. And we think that that's the next frontier. And the reason we say that that is the next place we're headed to is precisely because of this. If you're a small brand and not a company with like a really massive catalog, it's really about appealing to that audience, right? So we work with brands where we've been able to use personalization to provide anywhere, like Toto was saying, anywhere between 20 and 50%, but it's because we're looking at it systemically, right? We work with them on inclusive models, right? Like this is a brand that wanted to really appeal to like all sizes that were trying to buy. It was basically a luxury brand out of Asia that was really interested in kind of appealing to anybody buying that luxury brand across different sizes, right? Across different types of body types. And so, yes, we were doing recommendations. Yes, we were doing personalized emails and all of that, but it was also a great opportunity for us to say, it's not just about that. It's also about the way in which you're showing these models, right? Mm-hmm. Show them in different body types, show them in different skin type, right? Model that piece of luxury wear in a very specific way for different types of body types. So the answer is no. Personalization with large catalogs work a certain way because there's like a lot of data and it's all about scale. But the thing about brands and folks with smaller catalogs, it's all about getting to the essence of that business and that business's goals. And that's what personalization can really do.
Okay, interesting. Another question, and I think both of you might have something to say with this one. So, and I know we only have 5, maybe a little bit more minutes, so we'll try to get to as many as we can. We're getting a number of questions in, but how is Gen Z different in Asia from Europe and the US? And how do you target them specifically? Ashwini, maybe you want to talk about like the e-commerce arena. And Toto, I know you kind of mentioned that there's different norms in different areas as well.
Sure, maybe I'll briefly jump into the TikTok because Toto mentioned TikTok. We are working now even with companies like TikTok that are all about short videos, but these are companies that are also doing live video commerce. And Gen Z in Asia is all about video commerce, right? Like it's all about video commerce. So we can do everything from shop the look while you're looking at a video to literally the AI powering what's next with the next swipe to like basically helping people like generate their fashion map based on the kinds of clothing and stuff they're interacting with. So live video commerce and shopping off of, live video commerce is like a big one that we're noticing in Asia right now.
That's very exciting. Toto, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing live video. They drive so much, sales in Asia. The other thing I'd mention in how Asia, in our experience, is different, besides all the different platforms you have to use to reach customers, is that the attitudes towards privacy is different, right? I mean, the expectations in China of you giving up private information so that brands can track you around and do different things with you, it's just assumed, right? So while I actually think privacy is going to hinder some efforts at personalization, especially in the social sphere, coming up, because as the platforms start to clamp down in Asia, it's going the opposite way. You can track someone through every platform that they have there and really personalize the message, whether they're looking at it in their map app or, they're looking at it, in Taobao, or they're looking at it in all the different platforms. You're tracked all the way through.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting to think about the different norms and how it kind of is a challenge for retailers as there's more data literacy and data privacy conversations. I bet that's going to be an ongoing conversation. So another question, I think this is a really important one. Can you shed some light on personalization work for luxury services? So Ashwini, are there any types of personalization that you see really kind of being complementary to luxury?
Yeah, I think styling and personalized styling are just a thing in luxury. Like it's all about like really help style a particular person. And for that, AI can play a massive role in that context, in the sense that we actually provide stylists in the space of luxury entire AI-based styling tools that where literally 60 to 70% of your work is done. By the time the stylist just has to come in and say yes, no, and then the system is learning, and then the stylist becomes this expert that's guiding what needs to be sent out. So you can actually take styling and scale it, personalized styling and scale it to millions of people rather than it be, extensively just one-on-one. So we're seeing a lot of that pick up in luxury from what we see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing that being a real thing now that especially people who might have always shopped in stores, now they're shopping online and they need that personalized clienteling moment. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
And I'll jump in here and say, I think the definition between luxury and mass is very much blurred online, right? I mean, people are really shopping for value. So, and where we used to differentiate ourselves, I say coming from a prestige brand in terms of luxury, is the shopping experience. Our stores were beautiful, they were unique. It was an elevated experience. When you're online, you have to think the same mindset. How do I elevate my experience for my customers so that when they're shopping with me, it's, better than, shopping on Amazon, which is a huge challenge because, they invest so much, in terms of their shopping experience as well. But that's what you're competing against.
Yeah, no, totally true. We have actually a couple of other luxury-based questions. This one, and I'm just going to read it because I don't know if I'll just let you, I'm sure you'll understand it perfectly. So how can personalization be a successful technique to convert paid ad viewers and website visitors in the luxury sphere?
That's another one of those really interesting questions, because it almost like we are just working with someone right now where one of the things we're actually doing, we're looking at it through the lens of lead qualification, for a lack of a better way to put it, right? Will this customer convert? Are my ads working? And is my marketing team and is the money that I'm spending on ads really going to help? And this is actually, we're working with a beauty company on this, and we're also working with a couple of adjacent folks where this is the question we're simply asking. If we know what people are buying on this site, if we understand what the business is trying to do, can we simply use AI to predict whether that ad dollar that's being spent in this channel versus this channel, or the content, right? You're using this particular ad versus another ad. How do you A/B test that? And how do you actually get to understand what is it that's helping people really convert, right? So I think, you know, in terms of personalization, it flows both ways. You don't just have to like look at what someone's already doing on your website and then target them. You can actually use stuff to talk to people and reach out to people, and then understand based on how they're coming into the funnel as well, right? So it kind of works both ways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Toto, I don't know, do you have
I'd
anything?
add there is that, you know,
Yeah.
I think the paid ad to website conversion is one way to look at it, but it's also, I'd recommend to brands look at it from a longer view, right? If you remember them and when they come back, and you know, you lengthen that attribution window rather than, you know, that session to 30 days, 60 day, you'll see the personalization payoff.
Interesting. Well, I think that is all the time we have. We have gotten a few more questions in. So if we didn't get to your question, you can always email us ask@voguebusiness.com, and we will try to answer your question. But thank you all so much. These are some great questions and great answers. I can tell it's a really important topic. But thank you to all our viewers and to our webinar sponsor, ViewAI, and especially to our speakers for taking the time to share your insights and expertise. Just a reminder to all our viewers, we do have a sustainability forum coming up on May 26th, and we'll explore sustainability, not just as any one brand's job, but as a common industry goal. You can become a Vogue Business member to attend, and you can hear from Vogue Business editors, and opening remarks will be given by Alok Sharma, who's the president of COP26, which is the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference. So we hope to see you there. But in the meantime, thank you all for attending, and thank you again to our speakers. This has been a really interesting conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. It was great.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you. Thank you, folks.
Bye.